Well, good evening, everybody. How are you? Happy time zones, happy Thursday. Before any of you jump on my case about this being a cozy reading set in the icy cold waters of wherever Wallpaper Engine has us, this is the temperature that I wish it was currently in New Hampshire, but it's not. So there's no fireplace. And I know it's also a wild contradiction that I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt and, you know, we're in the icy cool waters of, I don't know, somewhere way up north, perhaps? I'm not really sure. I found it and I dug it. So, tonight, we're gonna get just a little dabble of what next week's gonna start off with some cozy reading. We're gonna be doing a cozy reading of Sunshine Agnes, which takes place in Calvert. So, welcome in everybody, and it's a pleasure to see you all. You know what? I didn't pick anywhere like cozy per se, Phil, but I picked Stargazer's Tower. Because I felt like the song was kind of a vibe, kind of a mood. It's like, it's somewhere in that, like, triumphant, but also kind of mellow, kind of, you know, vibe. My man. See? Great minds think alike. Also, thank you very, very much for providing me with a save file, because I needed it to be able to read Sunshine Agnes. Words on the line. What's up, buddy? How are you? Hello, hello. How are you? I know I said I was only going to have water tonight, but I looked in the fridge and I saw that I had a beer, so we're gonna cozy read with a Teddy Brewski. I've been sitting on these switchbacks for a hot minute, so. Still as good as I remember. So yeah, man. So the game plan is moving forward. Obviously, next week is launch week. Tonight, we're going to do a cozy reading of Sunshine Agnes. And tomorrow, we're going to finish up Shadowbringers, MSQ, tomorrow morning. And then, you know, our usual weekend off. And then Monday, we'll be doing a cozy reading of Gambler Jack Volume 1. Tuesday will be a cozy reading of Gambler Jack Volume 2. Wednesday will be a cozy rereading of Beyond the Reverie. Thursday, we'll be doing our raffle. Friday, launch. It's launch day. Which, you know, for me, it'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern. So, you know, we'll have the morning to prep and, I don't know, maybe we'll figure something out to do before launch, you know? But, that's where we're at, man. Welcome in. I can't friggin' wait, dude. It's finally here. Next week is here. Everybody here in the States being like, the 4th of July. Bro, I'm ready for the 5th of July. America's already had a whole bunch of birthdays. I'm ready for this. Excuse me. So, without further ado, Chapter 1, The Cream-Colored Girl. Edwin Arnold had never been able to get the better of that girl. Not even once. He was confident in his physical strength, and though himself fairly sharp to boot. Yet despite that, he was caught in a losing streak that left him at a loss for words. Not much had changed since that day 2 years ago. The ticking of the grandfather clock served as a reminder that time continued to pass inside the cafe. The 19-year-old Edwin, however, paid it no mind as he mumbled to himself, in his usual spot by the counter. That's about as perfect as this article can get, right? Having fully incorporated the details from his interviews and proofread the writing 3 times already, he continued grumbling as he quickly made his final edits. If his piece would withstand the scrutiny of the afternoon's editorial meeting, he would finally get to be published. Edwin wasn't about to let a chance like that pass him by. He needed to make sure that there wasn't a single period out of place. The boy raised his head and looked across the counter. What do you think, Agnes? Heck if I know. Who cares? Agnes passed by with a yawn. Her curly, cream blonde locks, which hadn't changed in 2 years, bounced and swayed with every motion as if dancing in a non-existent wind. Why do you have to come barging in here this early in the morning? We're not even open yet, she quibbled to herself as she dried the glass in her hand and placed it back into the cupboard. Come on, just look at it. I mean, please check it over. You know how rare it is for a rookie reporter like me to even get a shot at having their own column, don't you? Edwin pressed his hands together and bowed. Agnes stared down at him in silence. She had long gotten used to how much he depended on her for help, even though she was 2 years his junior. Jeez, is he annoying, she thought to herself. Nevertheless, she relented, scanning the page as she dried another glass. Impressive work, Ace. You've racked up 3 spelling mistakes, and isn't the date wrong? Ah, of course, Edwin thought. He raised his red pen once more and began making his corrections. It's not like fixing those will help you much. What? If you've got something to say, then just say it. I'm putting my all into this. Chill out. I'm just it's just a cooking column. So what? An article is an article. I guess everyone starts somewhere. Still, I'm not sure you've got what it takes to be a reporter, Ed, she grumbled to herself while he toiled away at his corrections. You're a slow writer, you have zero attention to detail, and you're a numbskull to boot. Sure, you passed the paper's preliminary exam thanks to my help, but isn't it a stretch to think that you could become a real reporter? Agnes had long wondered why a terrible student like Ed would want to be a journalist. Even so, she immediately regretted speaking up as Edwin collected his draft, stood, and donned a wide smile. Whatever, being a righteous reporter is cool. He told Agnes to expect good news and bounded out of the cafe, leaving the room silent, save for the chime of the bell above the door. How very Edwin, Agnes shrugged. On the counter beside her, a drowsy black cat let out a yawn. Ichi, what's good, Philly? Sup, big dog? Kira, good evening. We can call July 5th Calvardian Independence Day. Ooh, that's a good idea. Ultimate, what's up, buddy? Leftover Dominoes and a neo-cozy reading. Perfect dinner. Pleasure to see you, bud. Ichi, what's good, my man? Chapter 2, The Eaton News Agency. Anchorville was a sizable city in the Republic of Calvard. Though it was smaller than the capital, it was still home to a respectable number of businesses. White streetscapes faced the mountains encircling the city, while market and harbor districts faced the river, creating a sweeping vista to behold. Rounding the corner of the market, Edwin pedaled hard on his bike, rushing down Sunset Street. The Eaton News Agency, a small, local publication, lay just ahead. The newsroom was in a frenzy as nearly half of the staff were standing and shouting. Royce, a veteran reporter, vigorously tapped the back of his fingers against a draft, unaware of Edwin's arrival. The business editor, Clef, held a telephone to his ear, looking as if he hadn't slept all night. The copy editor, or rather editor-in-chief, Chang, nodded along with a stern expression. From what Edwin could glean, there had been a delay covering a recent traffic accident. He kept to himself, slipped into his seat, and took out his trusty, worn-out bag. Well, someone's in a good mood despite being late. The voice that cut through the commotion came from Brandon, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair who was the editor of the culture section. Upon seeing his supervisor, Ed wasted no time shoving his draft into Brandon's face. Daft! Thank you very much for the 26 months, man. Quietly hides in the back, waiting for the right time to troll for the first time in a while. Dog, get it in now. Let's boogie down. Also, Neo, it's not Agnes, it's French, so it's pronounced Agnes? Agnes. My bad. All right. Sunshine Agnes. All right. Now we know, and knowing's half the battle. Ultimate, dude, it's here, man. It's just about here. Today's article is perfect. Please submit it at the editorial meeting for me. There better not be any spelling mistakes this time, unless you're looking to get scolded again. Edwin's broad smile returned. Everything's going to go great today, I guarantee it. Suddenly, one of the office's 4 phones rang. A reporter named Carly answered it while passing by. What? Carly's brow furrowed. At 5 a.m.? Yes. Yes. Carly waved an arm through the air. The editorial department, which until had been noisier than the train platform, fell silent. Setting down the phone, Carly turned her gaze to Chang. Mr. Chang, it seems Weber Hart is dead. Someone clapped twice, shouting, "I need all the political columnists to gather around, ASAP." "Right," yelled the reporters, rising to their feet. "That guy, huh? This is going to be a big local story." The crowd murmured amongst themselves as more than 10 staffers circled the editor-in-chief's desk. Who was this Hart guy again? Seriously? He was a big shot around here. He was a famous intellectual. How do you not know him? Excuse me. This one's gonna require a special feature, Brandon muttered begrudgingly under the chatter. He tossed Edwin's draft back to him. "The afternoon editorial meeting's canceled, Ed. You're going to be assisting on this story." "Huh? But why?" "Don't why me. I'm your editor, pal. Do as I say." Seeing Brandon's scowl, Edwin leapt to his feet by instinct, but was suddenly overcome by a sharp sense of vertigo, as if the ground were shaking. Upon seeing the others in the room do the same, however, he realized that it actually was. The sound of steel folding in on itself shrieked through the office from outside the agency, followed by the grating roar of metal grinding against concrete. The cacophony ended with a crash. Through a trembling window, Edwin saw an overturned orbital bus billowing smoke into the sky. In a flash, he ran out of the newsroom as fast as he could, bag in hand. It wasn't his instincts as a reporter that made him move, but the fact that he could have sworn he saw Agnes amidst the panicked crowd. Really has been a while. Hope you, yours, and chat have all been well. Everybody's been doing pretty good, man. Same old song and dance, you know, at least on my end. The ups and downs of health with Youngblood, the coughs, you know, all the normal 5-year-old stuff, you know. But the same to you, man. It's good to see you. And we got Daybreak coming in hot, man, and I can't wait for it. Chapter 3, Golden Eyes. It's a great game. Great movie. Agnes! Edwin dashed into the street and toward the next block over. He was positive that he had really seen Agnes, as well as confident that he could catch up to her. Indeed, there she was in the crowd ahead. For a brief second, their eyes met, but a fleeing bystander bumped Edwin's shoulder, and when he looked back, she was gone. Why is she running from me? Edwin wondered. Another explosion rang out as the overturned bus burst into flames once again. Edwin cursed as he ran to the door of the bus and took off his coat to smother the fire. As he attempted to wrench open the door, cries for help spilled out. The bus driver's limp hand dangled from the window. It doesn't matter if my draft ends up in the paper or not, Edwin thought. Never underestimate a righteous reporter. We're going shopping today, all right, Kagamaru? Hope I got that one right. After seeing Edwin off earlier that morning, Agnes was prepared to go out herself. The night before, she had remembered that her uncle's birthday was coming up. Agnes' uncle, who owned the cafe, would be turning 40 this year. We're in Edwin's birthday. She could sidestep a topic as too much of a hassle, though she would still end up getting him something, in the way she had last year and the year before. However, she couldn't treat her uncle, to whom she owed so much, the same way. Agnes set down her glass of water to scold Kagamaru, who was still asleep on the counter for the umpteenth time. "Are you even listening to me, lazy bones?" she asked. The black cat's only reply was a deep yawn that contorted its face into an ugly abstraction. Honestly. As her uncle carried her bottles into the back, Agnes let him know that she was heading to her room on the second floor. Maybe I should put on something more comfortable. She was in and out of her room in a flash, returning down the hall wearing a light tank top. Mid-stride, she grabbed her favorite knit cap from its peg on the wall and put it on as she hummed her way down the stairs. Kagamaru stared at her blankly. What? No one saw me, so what's the big deal? She shrugged at the fussy feline and opened the door. Let's get going, Kagamaru. With a graceful leap, the black cat landed atop her knit cap, sending her cream-colored curls flying. Ugh, I can't believe you, she thought. The most inconvenient aspect of Agnes' waist-long hair was how much it bounced. She attempted to smooth her locks down here and there, but they simply couldn't be tamed. 10 years ago, Agnes' mother disappeared. Her father was good to her, so she continued living with him until she turned 15. However, her father couldn't give up on finding his wife, so he entrusted Agnes to his brother and left in search of his beloved. In time, Agnes came to understand their feelings to the point where it made her ache. Her mother surely loved her father just as much as he did her. What to do, Agnes sighed. Multiple stalls lined the harborside market. She'd come in search of a gift, but hadn't considered what she was actually going to buy. I should have just asked Uncle early. Her aside was interrupted by an orbital bus hustling past. The large bus had drifted out of its lane, hit the median, and launched into a truck going the opposite direction. Its shining green chassis glared in the sunlight. The tires had begun to fly, twisting in odd directions. The driver must already be dead, thought Agnes, as she watched the bus soar into the air. Her mind was in turmoil, yet at the same time, she had never been more calm. Once the bus hit the ground, they would all die. From the man in the front row to the pregnant woman by the window. Kakamaru. Answering the call, the black cat opened his golden eyes. Agnes did the same. Amidst the screams of people running for their lives were 4 golden eyes gazing at a scene that had yet to unfold. Damn. Yeah, Daft, for sure, man. It's going to be an absolute thrill. I cannot wait. Get a little sippy dippy. Daft, thank you. Sure will. I'll hydrate with some beer. Just one for me. She went to the Sigmund School of counting people on a moving vehicle. Clearly. It got really real and really morose in a hurry. She's like, everybody's going to die. Gee whiz. Philly, this is Switchback Ale. It's out of Vermont, but it's distributed out here. I wouldn't be shocked if you could get it out by you, for sure. Maybe, I'm not sure. They're out of Burlington, Vermont. It's great. I gotta tell you, Vermont is probably one of those states that produces a great deal of beer. Big time. Chapter 4: Cry for Justice. Edwin rescued one passenger after another. The corner market had devolved into panic in the wake of the crash. Worse still, the truck the bus had collided with had been carrying flammable materials. Edwin coughed violently as hot, thick smoke filled the air around him, searing his skin. I can't give up, Edwin thought. There are still people left inside who need me. Help me. Grab my hand, it's narrow, but I can get you out. Everything's gonna be all right. I can't, I'm pregnant. What? Edwin shouted without thinking. He tried to get a hold of himself, but his thoughts were spiraling. He was only 19. That's literally the thought that just went in my head. I go, this kid is 19. Philly Fire. My guy, Heady Topper Philly, is most certainly well known. And in my opinion, it's good, but super duper overrated, personally. Fifth, what's good, man? Mind racing, he frantically tried to calm the woman, telling her to wait while he stood surveyed the area. Several cars that had been caught up in the crash lay motionless in the street. Brandon and the news staff had followed Edwin outside to assist the rescued passengers. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. The cavalry was on its way at last. Ed, you gotta get down from there, yelled Brandon. That truck is loaded with gunpowder. It could blow at any second. Like hell I will. Edwin suddenly became enraged. Why did this accident happen? Why are there so few people helping? He yelled to himself. And why did Agnes run from me? Edwin had a feeling that she fled out of shock after spotting him. He knew better than to be upset, though. It was only natural that someone would run if a huge orbital bus came hurtling towards them. The thought, however, did little to calm his rage. Why did you run away, Agnes? You idiot! Who said anything about running? Cold water suddenly engulfed Edwin's body. Bewildered, he turned around only to then meet Agnes' beautiful blue eyes. She stood there, panting with a bucket in hand. Edwin could only assume it had belonged to a fishmonger, seeing as he now reeked of fish. Nice work, kid. Leave the rest to us. Everyone, this way. Hurry! A brigade of bucket-armed fishermen and fishmongers appeared behind Agnes. Together, they doused fires left and right in quick succession. Oh, of course. We're next to the harbor, thought Edwin. Anya's hair swayed to and fro as she bounded around, barking out orders. You, get over there! You, go fetch a hatchet! This girl is something else, Ed whispered. Ed, get out of my way! That woman's pregnant, right? The girl climbed over the frame of the bus, taking the woman by the hand. Agnes gently coaxed her to freedom. She then turned to Edwin. You know this would have been way easier if you hadn't come, right? Huh? What did you have to say that for? Edwin shouted. The girl with the cream blonde hair cracked a relieved smile. Don't worry about it. You really are dense, you know that, Ed? After sunset, the clattering of a cocktail shaker was the only noise disturbing the silence of the cafe. Agnes' uncle liked to serve the hard stuff in the store at night. The repetitive sound of the shaker was disrupted by the door flying open. Agnes didn't bother to look. She knew it was Ed. So how did it go, she asked, still facing away from him. Everyone's in stable condition, Edwin recited the facts he had learned from the police and hospital reports. There were only minor burns and injuries, excluding the bus driver who died even before impact. Considering the circumstances, people were calling it a miracle, one aided by a speedy rescue, of course. Edwin continued, and the cause of the accident was, the driver died at the wheel and the bus went out of control, right? Interrupted Agnes. How did you know that? She shrugged as she cranked up the Orbital radio, which was tuned to a report on the accident. Say, Ed, maybe you aren't cut out to be a journalist after all. Personally, I think you'd be better off working as a full-time hero. Edwin rubbed his hands and glared. Hey, Toots, go get me a bourbon. Quit trying to act tough, Ed. I know you don't drink. Here, let me get you an iced tea. As she prepared his drink, Agnes wondered what the bus driver's cause of death was. The host on the Orbital radio was now covering a different traffic accident. Feels like they've been way more accidents than normal lately, she mused to herself as she grabbed a new glass. Are you okay? Are you good? You can come over here. Grumpy, what's up, bud? Agreed, caused a craze here after someone said it was the best beer in the country. Yeah, it was like voted the #1 beer. And again, it was like really good. But I mean, it was good. Nothing quite like the beginning of a new Trails arc. Daft, yes. Hefe? Prost, my guy. Hi, kid, you good? Just chill out. Hang out with us here. Chapter 5. The windows blow downhill. Oh, the winds blow, not the windows. June gave way to July. How about that? On the 4th of the month, Edwin Arnold was set to attend his first ever press conference, as an assistant to the higher-ups for the political column, that is. The contentious inheritance of Weber Hart had been a matter of great public interest since the great intellectual's sudden passing 1 month prior. And his closest living heir, his adopted son, died at sea shortly after Hart's own death, Edwin noted as he pedaled his bike. Just ahead is the Cromwell Street Hill. Today's the day. I'll reach the top without stopping even once, he shouted with his trademark enthusiasm. Hart's best friend and the chairman of the board are both laying claim to the inheritance. However, there are rumors that the son's death was perpetrated by the two men themselves. Edwin's breathing grew ragged. That's a pretty common plot. Still, could the rumors be true? Heck if I know, muttered Agnes, watching the scenery go by. She was sitting behind Edwin on the luggage rack. The bike's vibration shook both her and the insulated bag in her arms. As it happened, there were many coffee lovers at the Eaton News, including Ed's boss, Brandon. Agnes delivered her uncle's artisanal blend there once a week. The catering service was little more than a hobby for Agnes, but she tolerated it well enough. The fact that Edwin insisted on escorting her during deliveries, however, was just a bit bothersome. So, Ed, you still hoping to land that cooking column, she asked? Yeah, I'm supposed to do one next month, so I'm putting together a new article. Gotta write about whatever's in season after all. A righteous reporter getting his start from a cooking column, mused Agnes. Being with Edwin like this put her at ease. As she fussed over her hair, which was fluttering in the wind atop her head, the perennially drowsy Kagamaru let out another yawn. I gotta say, there's been a real focus on her hair. I don't know if that really means anything, but... You just don't get it, do you? Edwin tisked. There was no shame in a cooking column. I'd be helping my readers spice up their dinner tables. If my article can make even one person's life easier. Edwin began pedaling up the hill with all of his might. Who says there isn't justice in that too? He roared. The bicycle crested over the hill, letting gravity pull it over to the other side before propelling effortlessly down the slope. Agnes let out an astonished yelp, only for it to be drowned out by Ed's joyous cries as he picked up speed. They continued on, riding the rushing wind. This exhilaration Ed's feeling must be his reward for working so hard, thought Agnes. She clutched her knit hat to her head to keep it from flying off and laughed at herself for being so shocked. Ed was always looking ahead. He was always chasing after his ambitions with that one-track mind of his, sometimes to the point where it annoyed her. About what you said back there. Hurry? Sorry, I can't hear you. Agnes raised her voice to yell over the wind. That rumor about Mr. Hart's heir being killed for the inheritance. Someone might have done it if they thought for sure they wouldn't get caught. Edwin nodded several times in sage understanding. Got it. I'll ask about that in today's interview. Jeez, and where's that going to get you? Ed was as dense and simple as they come, but that was also the reason Agnes felt so at ease around him. The reason they got along so well, she made sure he wasn't looking before grinning wildly as, in a way she'd never shown anyone before. Today, Edwin had made another step toward adulthood. He might stumble and make a fool of himself, but she knew he would keep pushing forward relentlessly like always. She only wished she could be there to watch it herself. Agnes! What? If something ever happens, call me, okay? I'm a righteous reporter after all, yelled Edwin. His laughter echoed across the clear blue sky. Handsome Dan? Can't believe it's been more than a year since I got into trails and joined this community. It's been a wonderful year, man. And I'm happy to see more people get into the series, you know? You see everybody's opinion. Of course, I have my own, others have theirs, of where to start, where's the right starting spot, and it's like, bro, just play Trails. You know, just play Trails. If you want full context, yeah, man, start with Sky Trilogy, but if you can't, start with, like, Cold Steel 1, maybe. But yeah, you know, I'm happy to see more people and it getting more attention, which I'm sure most of us feel it deserves. For sure. Chapter 6, Fisher. After dropping Agnes off at Eaton News, Edwin was led by a group of senior reporters to the largest assembly hall in Anchorville. There he would attend a press conference concerning the matter of Mr. Hart's enormous inheritance. All right, let's go get this story, Edwin psyched himself up. He had been told to save some seats for his team, but as he hurried to the press room, he found himself twisting through a maze of unfamiliar corridors. He wasn't quite sure what was happening. Where am I? Where in the world is the press room? Edwin's irritation grew, and his pace quickened. He checked doors at random, all of which only led to storage rooms and more corridors. He could already picture Agnes sighing and saying something sarcastic about his total lack of direction. Steadying himself, he pressed on. Just then, a loudspeaker announced that the conference would begin in 20 minutes. That's not good, murmured Edwin. Losing patience, Edwin flung open the nearest door. Upon it was a plaque emblazoned with golden lettering that read, Waiting Room 105. Inside stood a man in his late 30s adjusting the necktie on his rather fashionable suit. Oh? I was under the impression that we still had some time before the press conference, no? He asked. Edwin recognized him. He'd seen the man in photos of the Hart case's major players. This was neither Hart's best friend nor the chairman of the Hart Foundation. Rather, he was the middleman charged with managing all of Hart's assets while he was still alive. Someone deeply invested in the inheritance case. Yet the estate manager, Hux... Montaigne? Montaigne, maybe. Or is it pronounced Hugh? Don't know. I mean, if it's French, can we go with Hugh? Would Hugh work? Maybe. Hugh Montaigne! Cried Edwin, completely ignoring Montaigne's question. I'm Edwin, and I'm with the Eaton News. May I interview you about today's press conference? Edwin's request was completely ridiculous. It was as if he was trying to hog the entire story for himself. Hugh was flabbergasted, but Edwin wore his usual serious expression. The division of the inheritance needs to be agreed upon by both parties. I'm not really sure how it will pan out. I'm a tax counselor, not a lawyer, Montaigne explained, sinking back into the cushions of a black leather chair. He'd agreed to divulge what he could, partially out of sympathy. The easiest solution would be a clean 50-50 split, but since there are properties and valuable items to consider, I can't imagine either party will surrender without a fight. The total inheritance is substantial, right? Could either of them be gunning for the whole thing? No comment. That doesn't concern me. I see. Then, do you know anything about the death of the original heir, Mr. Hart's adopted son, last month? Silence gripped the room. Montaigne, who had been cooperative thus far, was as still as a statue. Crap, did I go too far, Edwin thought? That's the kind of question a tabloid would print. As Ed realized the impropriety of his question, Montaigne quietly shifted his right hand, tapping his middle finger against the end table before touching his temple with his index finger. Edwin wasn't sure what the gesture was meant to convey. This might be a little too frank, so please keep this off the record, but speaking personally, I have no interest in Mr. Hart's inheritance, said Montaigne. It's true that there is a considerable amount of money on the line, but I don't believe it's enough to warrant killing someone over. Montaigne continued, you may already know this, but there are things in this world of even greater value. Things beyond human comprehension, like, for instance, a clan of magicians, perhaps? The newsroom was nearly deserted. All the reporters had left to cover their stories. Agnes refilled the cups of the few remaining staffers as she scanned the room. Between an unfinished draft left on a desk and some unedited notes posted on the wall, Agnes had a decent idea of what tomorrow's issue of the Eaton News would look like. Seems Ed won't be getting his chance anytime soon, she thought. Yet another car accident, too. It really feels like there have been way too many of those lately. Her eyes landed on a picture near the front of the room. Excuse me, Mr. Chang? Who is this man? Even though the newsroom was restricted to employees, no one reprimanded Agnes for being there. Not even Chang, who was notorious for being a stickler. He simply gave her a glance and identified the man as Mr. Hart's estate manager. Excuse me. Apparently the photo was taken at a press conference 2 days ago. Looking at the shrewd businessman's photo filled Agnes with dread. This man could destroy me, she thought. He may even know who I really am. Oh? Well then. Chapter 7, Edwins Justice. Q sounds good. I'm guessing the X is silent. Yeah, if it's gonna be like real Frenchy names, you know, I just kind of assume that the X was silent too. We'll go with it until maybe we find out otherwise, you know? It's good. Chapter 7, Edwins Justice. And same thing with, because it can't be Montaigne. Montaigne. Yeah, I don't know. Montaigne told his story long ago in the time of the world's creation, written of in the testaments, mankind possessed the ability to use arts at will. Over the ages, this ability became lost to time. Nowadays, the only way to access arts is via the use of an orbment. However, one clan inherited that lost power. They are known as magicians. They exist in the present day, living normally among the rest of modern society. I know this is a lot to take in, so I can hardly blame you for being skeptical, chuckled Hugh. However, I suspect that there may be a magician in our very own city. Perhaps they are even closer to us than we realize. Now, with that in mind, reconsider the death of Mr. Hart's adopted son. If he truly was murdered by inexplicable means, perhaps it was the work of a magician. Afterward, Montaigne warned Edwin to keep the story to himself. Tell no one, not even your family, he said, or next time it'll be one of us turning up dead. Edwin was once a selfish and naive child. That is, until one day when he was 14 or 15 and saw a reporter's article exposing the evil deeds of some big-shot politician in a faraway land. The legislator had used his position and the suffering of others to line his pockets with Mira, but the expose destroyed his career. Afterwards, the reporter casually remarked that it was their job to reveal the inequities of the world and attempt to right its wrongs. Since that day, Edwin's sense of justice centered on uncovering everyday hypocrisies and shining a light on the vague and obscure. Magicians, pondered Edwin. If people like that really are hiding out there, I'll just have to expose them myself. The newsroom was as busy as ever. Ed in particular was engrossed in his work as of late. He had even stopped going to the cafe and asked Agnes to check his drafts. What the heck is he up to, she wondered. Ed, are you there? Agnes called out in a relative whisper. Yeah, what are you doing here? As soon as he saw her, Edwin scrambled to put away the manuscripts he had been working on at his desk. Agnes, who had managed to catch a brief look at his documents before he set them aside, thought they looked like the kind of materials he would gather before writing an article. There was an itemized breakdown of Mr. Hart's inheritance, notes from the press conference, a statement made by the estate manager, Mr. Montaigne, a brief story about a girl with a ribbon, and a revision request from Brandon to reformat the personal history of the board's chairman. She also spotted 2 spelling mistakes on his working draft, but Edwin's distant attitude had miffed her, so she decided to keep them in her back pocket as ammo to tease him with the next time he came to the cafe. I was out making deliveries, so I brought you lunch. You haven't eaten yet, right? Ah, good timing, Agnes. Thanks for saving me the trouble. Edwin snatched the wrapped sandwich from her hand and made an immediate beeline for the door, mumbling an excuse about chasing a story with his mouth half full. Something about his clumsiness seemed different than usual, to the point where Agnes felt lightheaded as Ed vanished from sight like a fleeting mirage. Was it just me, or is something off about him? She glanced over to Brandon and Carly for answers, but all they could do was shrug, looking no less troubled than her. Uneasiness and confusion were written all over their faces. What does all of this mean? What the hell is Ed up to? Interesting. Maybe there's a magician in the midst? I don't know. Causality? Dude. How many hours of that game did it take me? Heart Trip? What's up, bud? How are you? Good to see you, man. What's shaking? Oh, handsome Dan. Doing well, good to hear. Ready for the weekend? Big same. It's cooled off quite nicely this evening, thankfully. Speaking of which, don't fall. There we go. The old monitor almost ate the old big bazooka. Okay. Chapter 8, 22 Cards of Fate, Part 1. I think there's 14 chapters? Yeah, 14 chapters. Okay, so yeah, we're beyond the halfway point now. Excuse me. Chapter 8, 22 Cards of Fate, Part 1. Agnes was still shaken up by Edwin's behavior, even after she returned from the Eton News. Normally, he was so straightforward and easy to read, but now... She wiped down the countertop and rearranged the glasses and silverware in an attempt to calm herself, but her anxiety remained. The only customer, old man Perdue, sat at a nearby table chatting leisurely with Agnes' uncle. He waved to Agnes, and she responded in kind. "Do you have any ideas, Kagamaru?" she said. Kagamaru was curled up on his favorite spot on the counter, just left of Edwin's usual seat. The cat stared at her with his usual lethargic look. Yeah, I figured as much, she thought. Agnes reached for her knit cap but stopped herself. Even if she ran out searching for Ed now, she knew she wouldn't be able to find him. He had his bike and was bound to be on the move at all times, with how worked up he was. Instead, Agnes opened a drawer behind the bar and removed an old-looking deck of tarot cards. Yeah, these ought to do the trick. Pinpointing lost items through tarot card readings was well within the clan's rules. Every now and then, Agnes would even do some fortune telling for their regular customers. It was nice to hear them tell her she had been right, but what really made her happy was getting to use her powers freely. So now I just gotta think out loud. And when we do Gambler Jack, I'm gonna try and do my best to just button down for the sake of uploading this into our playlist. But so she might be a magician. She's in a clan, which, you know, I might be reading too far. Like, I don't think maybe she's part of like the Hexen clan. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe she's just literally a magician. David Copperfield was, you know, he was a magician. I don't think he was in the Hexen clan. But then, for whatever reason, my mind immediately darts to Beryl. Which, you know, just because, you know, the crystal ball reading, but... Man. But then... Fuck. Alright, I'm just gonna keep going. Just thinking out loud. Reading a fortune for one's own benefit, however, was wholly forbidden. After all, too much knowledge can be a danger in and of itself. On topic of Gambler Jack before daybreak, yeah, Monday and Tuesday. So Monday we're gonna do Gambler Jack 1, Tuesday we're gonna do Gambler Jack 2. So that's what's on the docket for the beginning of next week. And then Wednesday, we're gonna do a reread of Beyond the Reverie to get prepped for Calvard somehow. Agnes hesitated briefly before undoing the string that bound the deck together. There was something off about Edwin today. I'm sure of it. She exhaled deeply before placing her fingers upon the stack of cards. Imagining the possible answers the deck held, no matter how small, calmed Agnes. Agnes, not Agnes, sorry. Excuse me, miss. Suddenly, a cute little girl about 10 years old stood before her. Can I help you? Agnes asked as she took her hands off the cards, wondering when the little girl had come in. Are you telling fortunes, miss? Can you do mine too? The girl introduced herself as Tizzy and said she was looking for answers. She fidgeted with the red ribbon she wore. Apparently her father was in the middle of a difficult job and she wanted to know how it would turn out. Well, Agnes wondered if the little girl was from the area. She'd never seen her before. Her request came at a fortuitous moment, though. Agnes was reluctant to use her powers for herself, but she had far fewer qualms about using them to help others. Well, I'll make an exception just for today. What'll it be, Tizzy? I'll take one single request. Wow, really? I never lie, and neither do my tarot cards. So now, and then obviously my mind goes to Luciola, another tarot card reader. I don't know. Hey, Ghost, thank you for the 8 months, man. Thank you very, very much. It's good to see you. Welcome in. I don't think you've been around for a cozy reading, have you? This is fun. Yeah, it really is a mix of everything. We've got some Beryl, we've got some Hexen Clan, we've got some Luciola, maybe. The Beryl connection feels pretty strong, yeah. Yeah, it really does. And then the only reason why I connect Luciola to it with the tarot cards, for obvious reasons, is because, you know, we're reading this in Crossspell, you know? Yeah, Ghost, it's been a lot of fun, man. We started it, when the heck did we start it? Was it Red Moon Rose? I think we did Red Moon Rose first. And then Carnelia. Then 3 and 9, or did we? No, we didn't start with 3 and 9. We did 3 and 9 before Reverie. But yeah, we've done quite a few, man. And honestly, there's something about it I just find fun. It's cathartic. Obviously, it's a ton of reading, but you know, Trails is obviously known for its in-game lore like crazy. Luciola had some weird magic and seemingly no hexen connection, so a triangle between her and Beryl and this book feels right. That'd be some bonkers stuff, dude. Because we haven't seen Luciola in a hot minute. I mean, and we didn't, you know, we didn't see her at Michelin Wonderland. We all assumed it was her, but we didn't, you know, they didn't confirm it. You know, it's just like, she looks strangely familiar. Aaron, what's up? Haven't started Cold Steel 2 yet. You gotta prioritize Star Rail and Genshin. Right on, man. Everybody's got their own priorities. I respect it. All right, so Chapter 9. 22 Cards of Fate, Part 2. Tizzy seemed even younger than she looked, the way she asked about the meaning of each and every card. As the girls sat side by side at the counter, Agnes continued performing the reading. The results were adequate. Let's see, from what the cards are telling me, your papa's work is finishing up well. Everything should be just fine, Agnes smiled. Tizzy beamed with gratitude, but it was actually Agnes who wanted to thank her. The overwhelming anxiety had vanished and she felt more like herself again. She waved goodbye as Tizzy left shortly after, the doorbell chiming as the door swung shut behind her. So there was no, like, they didn't note in the last chapter, they didn't note anything of the doorbell chiming, which Agnes made note of. She's like, how long has this kid been here? So I don't know. Now then, what about Ed's fortune? Agnes thought. She sat at the counter and carefully gathered the cards. Her palms were sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on her sweater already. Mom's spaghetti. But she tried to ignore them. It's not important, Agnes muttered. When it came to more serious readings, Agnes always used the same procedure. First, she would make a fervent wish, then draw a single card. In Agnes's case, this was the most reliable method. All right, Ed, just what are you up to? Miss, you dropped one. Huh? For some reason, Tizzy was once again standing beside her. The girl crouched and picked up a card from the floor. Agnes took it and thanked her. Glancing down at the card, she suddenly froze, as if she had been petrified. It was Death, the Reaper's card? Agnes was overcome by dizziness and in her daze failed to notice Tizzy's departure. The leaky faucet stopped dripping. The cards in the deck shifted. Then one after another, they rose from Agnes's left hand and floated in the air. But the solitary object of Agnes's focus was the card before her, Death. A heavy thud brought Agnes back to consciousness. She looked up and saw Kagamaru staring back at her, perched on her head. At the moment, the tarot cards, being in the air, fell to the floor. Kagamaru? The cat hopped nimbly onto the counter and pointed her drowsy eyes at her as if to say, "What do you think you're doing?" I know. I was just a little surprised is all, Agnes muttered to herself as she gathered the scattered cards. For whatever reason, her uncle and Purdue hadn't noticed anything. She was careless. That was careless of me. I need to forget about it. Oh, okay. All this and get back to work, she thought. Then again, Agnes placed the death card on the counter and drew a card from the now reshuffled deck. She couldn't read the same fortune twice, so instead, she tried to focus on whatever it was that Ed had been chasing this past week. For our next story, yet another traffic accident occurring at around 1:40 this afternoon, the Orbital radio buzzed, having turned on by itself. I must be putting too much power into the reading, Agnes thought. After shaking off her dizziness, she turned her attention to the newly drawn card. The sun reversed, in other words, darkness. Agnes pondered the potential meaning of the second card. There had been more accidents than usual lately. Perhaps darkness was linked to those events? Maybe Ed found a lead on it somehow and was stepping into the darkness alone. Kakemaru meowed chittingly, a languid expression on his face. I know, but Purdue and Uncle haven't noticed a thing, Agnes retorted. She reached for the deck of cards again, but stopped herself midway. It would be faster to ask the Eaton news staff about Ed's whereabouts. She hurried to the orbital telephone beside the clock and called the office. Eaton News, how may I help you? Oh, Brandon, sorry to bug you, but around noon, Edwin ran off somewhere to work on his article. Do you happen to know where he went? Ed? Brandon chuckled. What are you talking about? He's been working at his desk since this morning. Anya's face went pale. Ed was at his desk? No, that can't be the real Ed, she thought. Outside, a piercing sound echoed in front of the cafe. Agnes watched through the window as a crushed orbital scooter sailed through the air and careened into the streets. Its driver seemed to be dead before it even hit the ground. And yet Purdue and her uncle continued to chat as if it was right, all was right with the world. Agnes shook them by the shoulders, but neither reacted. She had no idea what was going on anymore. Then the world began to violently shake beneath her, and she squatted in place. Agnes was just now beginning to grasp the depth of the terrible power running amok in Anchorville. I've got to stand, she thought. As she pulled herself up, Agnes peered over at the death card on the counter. For now, it was the only truth she could believe in. This is just anti-orbital transportation propaganda. It's like, yeah, just take the Shoelace Express. Don't take the bus. Not gonna do you any good. Damn, this is... I know Ocean said it wasn't his favorite, but, you know, I'm intrigued, obviously. Chapter 10, Path of the High Priestess. Anchorville. Anchorville is the name of the town that they were in. Daft, have you played the demo? I have not, but now I'm curious. Right? It's pretty good so far. Ocean undersold it. He did. He's a homie, though. He's just like, yes, my least favorite. Come on, bro. This is pretty good so far. Yeah, the demo for Daybreak. I don't recall if you're playing on PC or console. I know PC didn't get a demo, but I know all other consoles had. Man, I really wish this cold all around us in this. I want that. The cold. Oh, you beat it in Japanese. Well, shoot. You're gonna replay in English, yeah or no? You platted it too. Was it hard? You might be surprised to know that I'm actually, for the very first time, I'm gonna play in hard mode. I'm scared, but I'm gonna do it. Port, what's happening, brother? Three and 9 is just something else, so everything else can be considered not as good. Ow! I like, okay, so comparatively, that would be like me, like I have to put 3 and 9 in its own category, right? 3 and 9's in its own category, fantastic. But then again, Red Moon Rose, fantastic. Like, nah, I can't put it that way. You thought about Nightmare again? Oof. Neo doing hard is gonna force me to up it to Nightmare? Ooh, ah. Yeah, but see, I feel like that's a real, like, glass half empty kind of way of looking at it, Ultimate. 3 and 9 is just something else, so everything else can be considered not as good. Nah, I wouldn't say that whatsoever. I feel like 3 and 9 as a story, at least for now, holds the most story relevance, like story and character relevance. Like I feel like it's the most relevant story-wise for sure. Especially, you know, with not only with story but with like the character development. Start with hard. If you start struggling, drop. Yeah, Daft, that's that's the game plan. Officially a week away on the subject of difficulty. I'll likely play it on hard. If it was on stream, it would have likely been normal. Right on. Yeah, it's a week from tomorrow. A week from tomorrow. We're just about there. Boy, oh boy. That's like when I talk about how I inadvertently compare everything to Trails in terms of like continuity and story and how they're able to like tell the story, build the characters, etc. But it's like that's why I hold like, you know, Trails and Xenoblade, Xenosaga, whatever. They're like my 1 and my 1A. That doesn't necessarily mean that anything else after that is worse. It's just those are for me personally like the two franchises or the two series that I hold in the highest regard. Is Nightmare really hard? I kind of wanted to do it first play on it. Well, so, and without me having firsthand knowledge, I know Phil had said, okay, yeah, I was literally just gonna say what Phil just said right there. Daybreak is pretty easy, even on Nightmare. Could be, might be, from what he's heard. So yeah, I'm gonna give hard a try, and if I ride the struggle bus, which there's a good chance I may, because I ride the struggle bus on normal mode. But, so, you know. Do we know if it's supposed to release super early on the 5th? No, it'll release 1 p.m. Eastern time. So, I'm not sure what time zone you're in, I don't remember. But it'll be 1 p.m. Eastern time. You're Central, so what, that's an hour behind? Noon Central. Okay, yeah. Right on. Yep. I would love for it to be a midnight release so I could just be like up early curly to boogie down on it, you know what I mean? Because so for next Friday, it's gonna be you know, because I'm gonna have to get off at like 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock, so we'll only put in about 4 or 5 hours. Which I know I made that sound like super like, oh yeah, just 4 or 5 hours, no big deal. Just means I can get shit done before it releases that day. Oh yeah, for sure. I'll have to do laundry. I don't know. I think I'm gonna do what I would imagine professional athletes do. Not to say that I'm a professional athlete, but I gotta get my mind right. I gotta get like in the zone. I gotta get all the way zened. You know what I mean? Eat a nice hearty breakfast. Make sure to get the coffee pumping through my veins and just in the zone. Gotta keep myself grounded as best I can. Just being so excited. 4 hours is probably perfect for you to do prologue and hit chapter 1 running on the evening stream. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, because we'll do up until like 4 or 5 o'clock. It'll just depend when like Mrs. Neo and Youngblood get home, which is usually around 4:35. He'll probably come down and say hello. I would wager for sure he may. And then yeah, we'll get on Friday night. Normal time. Ultimate, enjoy the snack getting, dude. I'm probably gonna do it on hard, but I have previous with the game. But I do have previously with the game. Sorry, I can't read. It is different enough from Cold Steel for me to understand why people would go for lower difficulty. Interessante. Also, while we're here, buds that we haven't seen in a bit, I hope life's been treating you guys well, man. For real. We've all been playing a myriad of things, and I hope you guys have been enjoying it, man. We've been eating. Dude, Dan, the story's really good. Phil and I were just joking about how Ocean Gale kind of undersold it. He kind of undersold. It's been a pretty good story so far. I know he had just pretty plainly said, like, yeah, it's my least favorite. It's been good. I think it's been really good. I have been enamored. Because we're going to be starting chapter 10, and then we got 4 more. 4 more after this, and then that's a wrap, Jack. Chapter 10, The Path of the High Priestess. The grandfather clock in the parlor struck twice, and Agnes quietly left her room. By the light of the moon, she passed through the cafe and unlocked the front door, slipping out into the chilly night. The day before, she had wound up drawing one final card to determine when she should make her move. It was the High Priestess, the second arcana, which to her meant 2 a.m. Ed is still okay, Agnes assured herself. I just know it. Surely leaving at 2 in the morning would get her there in time to save him. She looked down and noticed that her hands were shaking. I can't get ahead of myself, though. Ed could die if I'm not careful. I just need to follow the cards and wait until 2 a.m. before doing anything. Meow, Kagamaru roosted upon Agnes's head. He was heavier than he looked. Agnes wondered if his laziness was making him fat. Probably. It's where I adopted most of my chub. Still, it brought a certain sense of comfort having his weight over her head. She took a deep breath to center herself beneath the glow of the full moon above. Let's get going. Now in a better condition, Agnes closed her eyes and felt out the septium veins beneath the earth, searching for where they grew stagnant. She then walked down the dimly lit streets, guided by her instincts toward the darkness beyond. Anchorville nights were cold, even at the height of summer. Agnes wore a light sweater, her cream-colored hair complemented by the pale moonlight. The Esmelis necklace she wore jostled in time with her every step. The tiny stone was all Agnes had left of her mother. The memories were so distant that she couldn't even remember her face. When Agnes was just a child, her mother left without a trace after using her powers in public. Such were the laws of her clan, and although Agnes couldn't recall how she learned that, she knew exactly why it was. We carry dangerous potential within us, she recounted. We must keep it hidden and live amongst the others. Before long, the road led out of the city and ended at the base of a large hill. A cemetery, Agnes whispered. At the top of the hill were rows of black tombstones. Among them, she spotted something moving about. Edwin, he's here, Agnes exclaimed. There was no mistaking it. She recognized him by the coat he was wearing. It was still charred from the traffic accident several weeks back. I've told him so many times to get rid of it, but he's still wearing that ratty thing, she thought. Agnes removed Kagamaru from her head and held him in her arms, crouching behind the gravestone. She berated herself for wearing such a conspicuous outfit. Regardless of her lack of foresight, however, she knew Edwin was in mortal danger. After steadying her breath and carefully gauging the distance between the two of them, Agnes crept quietly into the shadows. Chapter 11. See, Daft gets it. Least fave doesn't mean bad. Si, senor. Just found it boring mostly. It wasn't bad writing or bad story. Just didn't get my attention. It's got mine. For sure. I dig it so far. Yeah, it's not Hexen. Yeah, Daft, I'm with you. It's again, like between this and like Xenoblade, or just Xeno as a whole, the amount of brain juice I acquire from the stories. Neo, when you finish, don't close Azure. I want to send you somewhere quick. Can do, will do. Chapter 11, Left Only to Scream. Agnes could tell that Edwin was making a clumsy attempt to tail someone through the graveyard. His lackluster performance was actually beginning to irritate her. Geez, he's gonna get caught if he keeps this up, Agnes mumbled. That being said, she couldn't see who Ed was pursuing from her place in the shadows. Eventually, the chase concluded, rather uneventfully, at the top of the hill. Something's up, Agnes thought. By then, Ed had come out of hiding and was facing an unknown figure. Sorry, she gave me the slip again. Well, these things happen. Damn it, I thought for sure tonight would be the night. Still, Mr. Montaigne, was that little girl really created by a magician? Tizzy. I wonder if they're referring to Tizzy. Must be. Without a doubt, inside that human-looking shell is a malevolent power, an evil spirit. You've done your research, so I know you're aware that she's been present at each and every accident, the man said as he waved his right hand in front of Ed. She steals lives with a single diagonal strike through the heart, he continued, tracing a line across his chest. Evil spirits create disturbance, and only magicians can perceive their presence. Is that so? Edwin sighed. Seems you don't fully believe me yet. In that case, let me tell you something else you may find interesting. The man leaned over to whisper into Edwin's ear, but in the calm of that moonlit graveyard, it felt as if he was speaking directly to Agnes. If you kill a magician, you can steal their powers. Agnes reeled, overcome with vertigo, rustling the weeds at her feet. She cursed at herself underneath her breath. Killing a magician? How could I be so blind? The estate manager, Hugh Montaigne. I've completely fallen into his trap, she scolded herself. What the? Agnes, why are you here? Do you realize what time it is? Edwin was so dense that she wondered if she might be able to use it to her advantage. She stood focused not on Edwin, but Hugh Montaigne instead. So I've been your target this whole time, huh? I wasn't aware you were such a young lady, though. All those horrible acts, so much death, just to get to me? You make it sound so frivolous when in fact this is the only way for an imitation like me to gain more power. Ed, run! Get out of here! Agnes dashed straight at Montaigne. I've got to close the distance and get him away from Ed, she thought. Suddenly, Kagamaru, who had left Agnes's arm to run alongside her, turned around midway and meowed out in warning. Ah! An invisible force swept Agnes's leg out from under her, like she'd been flipped from behind. She somersaulted to the ground, a sharp pain coursing through her. Blood was gushing from her thigh. Something had pierced through it. A child's laugh echoed behind her as a red ribbon fluttered in the wind. You're the little girl who was at the cafe today, Tizzy? My papa's work is finishing up well, you told me so yourself. No shit! Alright. Tizzy's porcelain skin undulated in the moonlight as if something was squirming beneath the surface. My daughter is quite well made, isn't she? Boasted Hugh. Agnes screamed with all her might, Ed, get away from him! A stunned Edwin then shook himself back to his senses, finally beginning to process the events transpiring before his very eyes. So all along, this evil spirit we've been chasing the past week was really just this thing you call your daughter? Montaigne, it was you all along. You're the magician, he shouted. This man is a fake, though, Agnes. He's just using the power he stole from a real magician, from Weber Hart. Okay. Starting to add up now. Run, Ed, please, she yelled. Get out of here. Montaigne deftly raised his right hand as if he were commanding the attention of a rapt audience. My dear Edwin, I must thank you for bringing me the girl. However, this is the end of our partnership. Now you shall become a part of my power. Hugh motioned toward the boy with his white fingers, and a crisp snap rang in Edwin's ears. Just like that, Edwin's eyes rolled back and his body fell to the cold ground below. That was a really good twist. And I know most of you are probably like, I mean, I picked up on it sooner. All right, that's cool. I didn't. I was in the moment and I dug it. It was great. Also, I did Star Rail 2.3 today. Took 2 hours. It was real quick. Wasn't lore heavy, but had a good vibe to it. Cool. Did they, yeah, because they had to have wrapped up the, Firefly stuffs. Yeah, Fifth, I am the uncollector. I've come around, from past playthroughs. I go after, for the most part, rounding out well, obviously my fishing, but cooking. I've come around on making sure to cook stuff. Chapter 12, Eclipse Atop the Hill. What is she doing? Echoed Edwin in the haze of his semi-conscious mind. Agnes was crying, sobbing even. She looked like she was hitting something, but she lost the advantage and was sent flying backwards. Calling it a fight would hardly be fair. Agnes didn't stand a chance. She should be stronger than I am, Edwin mused. Agnes' visage glowed and shone a brilliant white light, but for whatever reason, Edwin thought this looked very natural on her. His vision faded. Within his mind, the girl with the ribbon materialized before him. There you are, mister. Quickly, this way. Let's go help Papa together. She wrapped her arms tightly around him. They were thin, cold, and strong, like a vice. Edwin let out an involuntary grunt as she squeezed him. Ugh. Hey, you! Papa wants to get some new powers soon. I want to help grant his wish like a good little girl. Come on, let's hurry. Edwin stared at Tizzy. The longer he looked, the less he could accept the truth that she was an evil spirit trapped inside a human shell. Mr. Montaigne isn't your real father, right? Edwin said in a strained voice. He did his best to give her a shaky thumbs up. If you want to meet your real father, I'll help you find him. After all, I'm a righteous reporter. Ed! Ed! If I begin treating him immediately, he might stand a chance. Agnes thought amidst her jumbled thoughts. If I could only just get to him. However, Montaigne was not about to allow her the chance. Agnes's body was abruptly thrown into the air by some invisible force, tumbling helplessly into the ground, a distance away. I'll never make it. I can't even stand, Agnes gasped. Tears fell from her eyes as she collapsed against the dirt. Kagamaru ran to her and motioned for her to run, but she was no longer able to detect his presence. Why, Ed? He's always been there for me. My whole life, I've kept my distance from everyone else, but he was the lone exception. My most cherished memories are the ones I spent with him. I've tried so hard to hide that, but... Ed! My one and only friend! Absolutely magnificent! Montaigne stood at the crest of the hill with the moon at his back. You, young lady, shall be my second. Magicians truly are of immeasurable value, aren't they? I may have gained this power by chance, but now simply by killing one magician after another, I can become omnipotent. And best of all, there are so many lives to reap for sport. Montaigne roared with laughter. What curious creatures magicians are. Their powers are both infinite sources of desires and a boundless granter to them. The body known as Tizzy stopped moving. Her face contorted as the spirit within writhed violently beneath her skin. Finally, her flesh tore and the spirits burst forth. The shadowy form of Montaigne's magic was unmistakable, even under the shade of night. So the vessel has reached its limit, has it? No matter, Montaigne whispered. The dark energy returned to him and coiled around his body. Inflicting pain with this power brings me so much joy, but I plan to finish you with my own hands. Now, to make bloody artwork of you. Try to enjoy yourself. I certainly will. Murderer! Agnes screamed, having lost all inhibitions. The man, clad in coils of shadow, grew intoxicated by the power enveloping him, bursting into laughter at the accusation. I'm not doing this of my own will. It's this power. Your power. You blasted magicians are to blame, thundered Hugh. Before Agnes's eye, the pitch-black darkness rose over the hills and blocked out the moon before surging forth. Agnes' mind stirred. Montaigne's right. My power, the magician's power, is a curse. Misfortune befalls anybody who gets too close to us. That's why the true nature of this power must never be revealed, no matter the cost. I'm sorry, Ed, Agnes thought. You always wanted to be a righteous reporter, and yet Agnes solemnly closed her eyes. Damn. I knew Kia was in the box while playing FC on launch. True story. What a great tune, too. All right, chapter 13. The Magician. The man enrobed in magical power grew increasingly maniacal. Things have been so very hard for me since obtaining this power, you know. Holding back the urge to torment, to make the light leave the eyes of others and enjoy every moment of it. I just can't help myself. It's your power that makes me feel this way. You blasted magicians are to blame. The dark energy rushed from his body and washed over the cemetery with the fury of a hurricane, eradicating the tombstones in his path as it steered a course towards Agnes. Excuse me. Then the shout of a young man cut through the gale. You're wrong! Against all odds, Edwin stood between the attacker and his prey, with his singed coat around his shoulders and his trusty messenger bag in his outstretched hands. Everyone knows that the one who does the deed is the one at fault. Don't go blaming this on magic when you don't even understand it. Moonlit confetti dotted the scene, floating gently in the air. It was the torn remnants of Ed's manuscript. He had somehow blocked the black magic with his bag. Agnes, who had just been resigned to her fate, wore a baffled expression. Edwin? You're safe? How? Edwin pointed his thumb at his chest and grinned. How many times do I have to tell you? Never underestimate a righteous reporter. Agnes had so many things she wanted to say, but in that moment, she was simply at a loss for words. I'm going to beat you down, Montaigne, and after that, you're going to give me a post-fight interview. Don't screw with me, boy. How did that raggedy bag stop my magic? How are you even alive in the first place? Edwin responded by rushing forward without hesitation. Ah, geez, Agnes thought. Still, that was the Edwin she knew. Always true to herself, a crusader to the very end. Even now, Edwin didn't completely believe in magic. He wasn't even able to see any of Montaigne's twisted powers, but he wasn't going to rule it out as impossible or write it off as some kind of curse. He would piece the truth together himself, bit by bit. That was just the sort of boy Edwin was, reckless and all. Kagamaru! The black cat who was clinging to the backside of Ed's worn-out bag had been the one who actually negated the dark magic spell. Huh? He fixed his jet black pupils on Agnes, as if to say, are you sure about this? I am. I don't want to lie to him anymore. I'll show him the truth, the real me, Agnes thought back. She looked up into the night sky. It's a full moon tonight. Although there was no wind to move them, Agnes' cream blonde curls danced about as her arms erupted with rays of light illuminating the darkness. Bro, this is dope. Like, this is dope. I'm in. The finale. Sunshine Agnes. Edwin Arnold had never been able to get the better of that girl, not even once. He was confident in his physical strength and thought himself fairly sharp to boot. Yet despite that, he was caught in a losing streak that left him at a loss for words. Not much had changed since that day 2 years ago, and perhaps it never would. The wave of light sent everything hurtling up into the sky. Edwin found himself suspended aloft, Agnes' hands in his. They were soft and warm as the sunshine. Her whole body shone, her cream blonde hair flickering like white-hot flames. Thank you, Ed. It's been fun. Wait, what's going on? Where are we? Am I dreaming? Ed, you're as dense as ever. Even though you won't be able to remember what happened today, there's something I need to tell you. Agnes smiled. It was a rare expression of pure happiness. She had never shown it to anyone before simply because she had never been able to, until now. I'm a magician, Ed. This is who I truly am. Ed wasn't sure if he was shocked or if he had somehow already known. Now that he thought back on it, Agnes was smart, good in a fight, seemingly knew everything, and had a sharp intuition to boot. It would explain a lot if she was a magician. Huh. Well, that's Agnes for you. Now, go fix me a bourbon. If she could, she would have served him an iced tea instead, but that was impossible. Agnes was no longer in Anchorville. Edwin was finally released from the hospital after being treated for 2 ribs that he didn't remember breaking. Oh. From there, he boarded a long-distance orbital bus bound for the capital. was too far a trip for his trusty bicycle. Besides, the idle time he spent in the bus would be a good chance to plan his next move. Hugh Montaigne had been arrested for the murder of Weber Hart, and Ed's investigation into Tizzy revealed that her grave had been desecrated. He prayed that she could now rest in peace. Even the deadly string of car accidents had finally come to an end. Leaning against the shaking frame of the bus, Edwin thought about the future. The people of Anchorville had completely forgotten the events of that day. Nobody knew when Agnes had vanished. Even Edwin could scarcely recall what happened that night. Every day he tried with all of his might to remember. Only recently did he manage to recollect her final words to him. "This won't be the last time we meet. Well, so long as you don't become a reporter, that is." "Huh? What do you mean by that?" "Well, reporters are supposed to shine a light on the vague and obscure, aren't they?" Agnes clasped a hand around the Ismelis necklace she wore. Her pain was as clear as day. "You're way too oblivious for your own good, of your own feelings, Ed." Edwin huffed. "Well, I'm still not giving up. I'm going to become a righteous reporter no matter what she says." From his spot by the window, Edwin flicked through his notebook to check his agenda. Being a freelance reporter was more challenging than he had ever imagined. Brandon in particular had gotten frustrated countless times while training him. "But there's no way I can back down after hearing stuff like that from Agnes, of all people. She says we can never meet again? Well, I don't believe that. I'm gonna keep on being a reporter and make my feelings clear as day while I'm at it. Just you wait, Agnes. I swear that I'll find you." The wind raced across the wide open prairie. Calvert's winds were magnificent. Wind. "That's a real strong gust, huh?" a certain girl muttered in this very same bus long ago, her chin resting in her hands as her cream blonde hair bobbed in the daylight. Wherever that girl went, the sunshine would follow, just as it did when she arrived in Anchorville. Edwin chuckled softly to himself. A righteous reporter can only believe what he's seen with his own eyes, you know? The bus traveled down the gravel road beneath the vast blue August sky. The end. That was good, man. That was really good. And it has me even more enamored for Daybreak now. You know what I mean? Like, will Agnes play a part? Will we meet Edwin? You know, like, I don't know. I don't know, but I want to know. And we will know eventually. Play to find out. Couple more days. Couple more days. Yeah, dude. Ultimate, I'm telling you, dude, that was good. I love my man Ocean Gale. He undersold it, though. Big time. Oh, yeah, Phil, where are we headed, big dog? Yeah, that was a quick one for sure. 14 chapters. I know, if I recall correctly, Gambler Jack are quite a bit longer. Go to TL's room, 3rd floor of the SSS building. Probably fastest to reload the save. Okay. Well, we can take the Merkaba. I've got such a headache now. Damn you, Trails. It's a great headache, though. Yeah, down at the end? I don't recall. Sure is. Oh, this song, though, dude. Oh wait, no, this is Kia's room. I'm sorry. Shame on me. It's a Kagamaru piggy bank? No fucking way, man. Really? Are just all black cats called Kagamaru? Huh. Well, how about that? Huh. So, okay, so I'm not gonna read too far into this, but like, are all black cat decorations called that? Is Kagamaru like that, like the singular term for black cat decoration? Tio's a fan, she collects the merch. Okay. Hot dog. That was good, man. That was a great goddamn read, for sure. And now, obviously, I'm looking even more forward to Gambler Jack. Dude, next week is going to be so goddamn hype. And I don't mean to just gloss over finishing up Shadowbringers MSQ tomorrow, but, like, I'm ready for Daybreak. These are based on characters from the novel. Really? Huh. So then I wonder if Tio has any knowledge. What a song. I don't have the details. I need to either confirm or debunk what I'm thinking. Yeah. Hey, Ultimate, have a great night, man. Looks like she has a Kagamaru pillow as well. Does she? Or like that blanket spread? Oh, yeah, down on the floor. In the poster on the wall. Huh. Never would have known. Michette. That was good. That was a good book, man. I dug it for sure. And then yeah, so we've got we'll be doing Shadowbringers tomorrow. To trade for the final book, you need to give Jingo a bunch of Kagamaru items you've collected throughout Crossbell. Oh. Her whole outfit is actually just a Kagamaru cosplay? Come on! Yeah, okay, we can go with that. I dig it. I dig it, for sure. But yeah, so, Unicorn tomorrow night or Saturday? I mean, I guess that's gonna be up to Phil, because my man is gonna be Dawn trailing it. Musashi, what's good, dude? You know some weird shit? Since these maps are, since these map areas were uploaded to virtual reality, it feels weird being able to walk into Randy's room and sleep on his bed. Wait, these have been uploaded into VR? Did we want to go for Unicorn Trifecta? Like, dude, if you want to, for sure. I'm taking Dawn Trail into extreme consideration here. Such a somber tune. Oh, good. Well, let's go see Zach then. You can multitask? Oh, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, you benefit from having seen it. Yeah, pretty much all maps and towns. Oh, see, I wasn't aware of that. That's pretty neat. I'll get down on VR or augmented reality when we get the not so deadly nerve gear from SAO. Zach is having a time, like a good one or a bad one? It's different when you visit the tragic place in person? I can only imagine. But I'm gonna alt-tab out. We're gonna lose the tunage, unfortunately, but 'tis what it is. It's another one of those things where Steam doesn't always run the games in the background. Let's peer pressure him into playing Xenoblade. I like that idea. Let's not call it peer pressure. It's got like a negative connotation to it. Let's be good friends. Let's be good friends. And encourage him to play Xenoblade. That's got a way more positive spin on it, right? It's like that's like a 12-6 curveball. Set him on the right course. Yes. There we go. But yeah, man, we'll go and see Zach. I'll play the devil's advocate and peer pressure him. Yes, good. We all have to get on board for that. Hey, I know it was a quick stream. I know it was a quick read, but thank you guys very, very much. Tomorrow morning, we'll finish up Shadowbringers MSQ. Monday, we will begin our prep for launch week. We'll start again with Gambler Jack Volume 1 on Monday. Looking forward to it, very much so. Phil, get some good rest. Dawn Trail is upon us. But yeah, man, I hope you guys have a great night. Show Zach tons of love, and we'll see you in the morning. If not, we'll see you next week, or we'll see you next time, man. So stay happy, stay healthy, stay excellent. Bye, guys. Be good.
Hold on, I'm in the middle of a cutscene. I can't stop. This old man just got us in a fight. This isn't even This isn't Xenoblade. No, it's not. I never said it was. But yo.